Fulfilling the promises of Universal Declaration of Human Rights for older persons across generations. As you know, United Nations, in their 33rd commemoration, declared the International Day for Older Persons, will focus on the theme fulfilling the promises of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for older persons across generations. This event will put a spotlight on the specificity of older persons around the world for the enjoyment of their rights and in addressing violations. How the strengthening of solidarity through equity and reciprocity between generations offers sustainable solutions to deliver on the promise of the Sustainable Development Goal. So the important goals of the International Day for Older Persons is to increase global awareness on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and generate commitments among all stakeholders to strengthen the protection of human rights of current and future generations of older persons around the world, and to share and learn from intergenerational models for the protection of human rights around the world, and to call on governments and UN entities to review their current practices with a view to better integrate a life course approach to human rights in their work, and to ensure the active and meaningful participation of all stakeholders, including civil society, national human rights institutions, and others. At IIPS, the Center for Aging Studies is organizing this symposium. First, let me welcome the speakers and our chairperson, Professor S.K. Singh, Director and Senior Professor, is chairing this session. And we have three eminent speakers who will share their experiences, vast experiences in different fields, in academic, in the NGO sector, in the corporate sector, and many more things. So, as you know, the IIPS is now known for a major research center for aging studies. We have nearly 35 PhD scholars working on aging issues. We also have two major surveys on aging, the LASI and SAGE surveys conducted by the Institute. And also recently, last month, IIPS in collaboration with the India Aging, UNFPA came out with the India Aging Report of 2023. So it is my great pleasure to welcome the three speakers to this occasion. Our first speaker is Professor Nasreen Rustomfram, who is the former chairperson, Center for Lifelong Learning, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She served as the chairperson of the Center for Lifelong Learning at TIS for 2 decades and also held offices of the first Dean of Students Affairs. Until her superannuation in 2022, she represented the Institute in various forums. At the Center for Lifelong Learning at TIS, Professor Rustomfram has piloted the first university-level diploma program in gerontology within India, started in 2007. And this program has contributed to human power to work with NGOs, government organizations, and old age homes working for senior citizens. Since 2013, she has been engaged with offering a certificate course in geriatric care, geriatric caregiving and oncological caregiving in collaboration with NGOs and educational organizations in 3 states, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Odisha. She is a member of the Joint Action Committee of Senior Citizens of the Maharashtra government and is actively engaged in curriculum building and developing educational programs for senior citizens. Outside this, she has been on the UGC Standing Committee on Adult Education, Extension and Outreach, as well as the National Key Trainer for UGC program for women faculty in higher education institutions. Her substantive interest also led her to serve as the governing bodies of many NGOs and civil society organizations. Her major areas of interest are adult education and lifelong learning, educational technology and participatory training pedagogies, gerontology and social aspects of geriatric care, and also working with the senior citizens. Thank you, Professor Nasreen, Rustomfram, for accepting our invitation and coming to us. I request our director to present a bouquet and a shawl to the speaker. Thank you. Our second speaker is Mrs. Sugandhi Baliga. She is the co-founder of a new NGO, Happy to Age, based in Mumbai. A professional with 33 years of experience in working in corporate and social sector, she has had a deep interest in the field of health, which brought her closer to the subject of geriatric care, including being a caregiver for her father over 10 years. She is an MBA from Jamnalat Bajaj Institute of Management in Mumbai, and after having worked for initially 8 years for her career with the different corporates, decided to move to the development sector. She worked with the Tata Trust from 2003 to 2021. She anchored the elder care program in Tata Trust and was instrumental in being part of the team in conceptualizing, designing, piloting and scaling the national helpline, the well-known elderly life helpline 14567 for older adults, along with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. In 2021, she was awarded by the Vedika Women's Alliance for her exemplary leadership in social impact. She was the founding CEO in setting up the operations in Vaya Vikas, an NGO based in Bangalore, working exclusively for the cause of older adults. She is also a certified art-based therapist. She is an art lover and pursues painting as her passion and is putting to use this interest in the form of therapy. With her vast experience of having worked with older adults, both in urban and rural settings, she strongly believes that having regular engaging activities with older adults can help maintain a balance of mind, body and spirit. She has been doing that work wonderfully to build the confidence and self-worth and dignity in older adults, both in the urban and rural sector. With that understanding, she has set up Happy to Age, an initiative that is working in housing societies in Mumbai to promote active aging. Thank you, Ms. Baliga, for accepting our invitation. I request our director to present Manju, Shah and Bouquet to our speaker. Our next speaker is Mrs. Saraswathi Padmanabhan. She is currently leading the aging initiatives at the Tata Trust in Mumbai. She completed her engineering from PJTI Mumbai in 1996 and started her career in software development. She worked with IBM and L&T Infotech. She then decided to take up civil service exams and joined the Indian Revenue Service in 2004. She was the finance minister's gold medalist during her training. She handled various responsibilities of corporate assessment and various investigation wings during her stint as in the income tax department. She then moved to the Tata Group in 2010 and started working for community-related initiatives. At Tata Consultancy Services, she worked for improving the employability and employment of rural youth, specifically those coming from socially marginalized groups. She then joined the Tata Trust in 2013 and handled several programs in Tata Trust, including institutional grants, collaboration with IIT Mumbai and MIT, Indian Institute of Science, and technology-based initiatives such as Internet Sati. She took up the multi-thematic intervention in the northeast state of Tripura. Since 2017, she has been involved in the elderly care sector and will be talking about her work at Tata Trust today. So, Mrs. Saraswathi comes with over 25 years of multi-sectoral and multi-functional experience, both in the government, corporate as well as NGO sector, in the fields of software development, taxation, human resources, social development, and manufacturing operations. And she is passionate to make a large-scale impact on the society through her activities. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Processing to present a professional
That's fine.
Thank you, and now I request Professor S.K. Singh to conduct the proceedings. I also request him to give an introductory remarks.
Thanks, Professor Sekher, for very comprehensive introduction of all three eminent speakers who are present before us today. In fact, Institute feels proud to have these three eminent speakers on the occasion of our International Day of Older Persons. We are demographic institutes, all respected dignitaries on dais, our students, faculty colleagues. We are researching on various dimensions of population and health. And in the current situation of demographic transition, which is also accompanied with age structural transition, we are getting a very evolving scenario. And our recent estimates of United Nations clearly indicates that around 7.5% of our population, which is constituting around 100 million. 100 million population in our country are 65 plus. And if you look at the global population and more than 200 countries in the world, only 14 countries are having population. Only 14 countries are having their total population larger than India's elderly population. That is why it's become significantly important for our policies, programs to look at social, economic and health aspects of our population, especially where entire our policies and programs needs to be rehauled, reworked to what should be our focus, what should be our priorities for resource allocation. We are primarily getting three types of challenges. Healthcare challenges. Along with healthcare challenges, we are also coming across economic ramification. If someone is looking at economic implications, economic ramifications are coming before first, and then social structure and social support system. Our families are changing, family compositions are changing. That is why I was amazed to see that person with engineering background, when Professor Sekher introduced her, that she has interest in looking at this via Tata Trust. Basically, many people are coming in this area, that in our breaking family system, there is a need of taking care of elderly. Recently, Professor Sekher mentioned about one India elderly report, 2023. Two of my colleagues were working on that, and when they made a presentation before IRB, I was a convener of IRB. I heard that it was amazing in Mumbai, about 19 to 21 organizations are actively supporting those elderly. In fact, the current situation of elderly population in our country are having developed. In one hand, it is providing opportunities. On the other hand, it is also creating a number of challenges before the country. That is why it becomes extremely important for our students, and around 17 to 20% of our doctoral students registered at IIPS currently are working in the areas related to elderly, frailty, multimorbidity, or other kind of challenges which are faced by elderly. That is why our establishing a center for aging studies has been a very timely decision of Executive Council of the Institute. We are proceeding along with the producing large-scale survey data which are used by policies and programs. We are doing a lot in research innovations. Basically, this institute has one credibility that whenever some newer issues are emerging, within next 1 week, I will be completing my 30 years at this institute. I have seen 5 to 6 times we have revised our syllabus. Whenever some emerging issues are coming in the area of population and health, we are incorporating those even in our course curriculum so that our students would get benefited. We are writing research proposals, we are conducting large-scale surveys, and whatever our survey findings are shared not only with policymakers, first beneficiaries are our students, because we are revising our course curriculum, getting it approved by academic council. Challenges, that is why we are always updating ourselves. This is the time when we are updating ourselves in the context of emerging challenges, whether it's feminization of aging, whether it's ruralization of aging, whether the problem of economic impact of aging, family support structure and changes. We are facing those, and our students are taking lead in researching those areas, even into deep diving by taking a small number of samples, or even caregiving organization. With this background, I would like to claim that our institute is giving due priority to this, and now I am requesting our first speaker for the day, Professor Nasreen. Please. All three presentation first, then we will open for some questions.
Good evening, friends. Director Professor S.K. Singh, Head Center for Aging Studies Professor Sekher, my colleagues on the dais Sugandhi Baliga and Saraswathi Padmanabhan, faculty of IIPS, scholars, students, and all those who have decided to choose to be here today to observe the International Elders Day. A day which is very, very significant because there are very few days actually which remind us of the issues of senior citizens, and this is definitely one of them. Professor Sekher has been kind enough to say that I could concentrate on, emphasize particularly the work that we did or the work that I was involved with, and to some extent that has made my task easier. But the unfortunate part of it is that having been an academician for 36, 38 years, I could not resist bringing a presentation to contextualize the practice that we have done with some amount of theoretical understanding, or let us say a social science understanding really. And I feel that, sorry, I'm audible, I hope. Yeah. So, just to begin with an understanding of the kind of work that we did in gerontology and geriatric care from the Center for Lifelong Learning. The first slide just brings to your attention that we've always had a traditional medical model of health. And I don't think it's the first time that you have heard of this. The WHO definition is different from this, and all of us, I think, one of the things that we really know by heart, we just are able to relate it by rote, when we say that health is more than just illness. But unfortunately, over the whole area of health, medicalization, let me say, of health, of the human body, has been such a peculiarity in the medical profession, and I mean no disrespect to the medical profession or to doctors. I mean, we know that the moment we sneeze, the first thing that we really want is to get well, and a medical professional is who we look to. However, without any disrespect, I would say that the medical profession has tended to view the person in a very segmented way, more a person with illness, more a person with disease, and how to counteract these rather than looking at the whole person. Hence, at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, very much being within the social science purview, the psychological, the emotional, the cultural always made a lot of sense to us. So when we began working, we didn't first start with geriatric care. In fact, we first started working in the area of gerontology, which is a much more comprehensive understanding of senior citizen from multiple dimensions, and not just the dimension of health. So you may wonder then how we moved from what is a more multiple dimension and a multidimensional aspect of understanding the elderly to a more specialized area of geriatric care, which actually looks into the issue of health more than the social, the psychological, etc. And here we took a very conscious decision, and it was also in our milieu actually. It was something that we could not, like in Hindi we say कि हम इस बात को नज़रअंदाज नहीं कर सकते थे कि we view the human being with their complete, cultural, social, emotional and psychological background, and we don't view the senior person just as an individual. And hence, when we moved to the whole area of geriatric care, we fully sort of in spirit, in letter and in spirit, we tried to make it a holistic effort in which we included all the, aspects of the senior citizen. I am skipping a few slides because I don't think, I just want to concentrate on the idea that what we offered and the thinking behind really what we offered, and what are the challenges if we continue with that kind of thinking. I think this is the main objective of the brief presentation today, that there is a whole way of looking at the health of the older person, at geriatric care in particular. And there are certain challenges which are inherent in this kind of perspective, where we may be to some extent going against the tide or going against the sort of practical way in which people actually want to deal with this, whereas we feel that it's not just the practical, but somewhat we need to go also into the idealistic domain, and that unless we pitch our bar high, we are not going to be able to offer the best to our older population. Right at the planning stage, if we make a compromise, then what will it be at the implementation stage? This is what I want all of us to have in mind when I'm speaking today. So, a holistic care, basically we are talking about in other terms, in social science terms, we also say a patient-centered care. And if you only look at that line which says, ensuring that patient values guide all clinical decisions, I think some people in the audience may just gasp and say, what are you talking about really, Patient values should guide clinical decisions. I mean, clinicians are the top of the pop. And how can you, to what extent can you take patients' values into concern, And yes, as I said, let's hold the bar high so that as much as possible we can actually do what we think is the correct thing to do. And then of course there will be practical considerations, there will be issues of how far can you go, and should the pendulum swing to an extreme? No, we will try to find a balance in this whole issue. But we do say that the older citizen, particularly the elderly person, is in their own cultural milieu. And to totally ignore that cultural milieu, and especially in a hospital, pristine, white hospital environment where the patient is just a body, sometimes even a number, so if you remember, the whole discussion that takes place in Munna Bhai MBBS, for example, where patient is referred to as a number, so and so, bed number, so and so, not even by name or no, nothing. So, compassion, empathy, all of these are very critical in the way that we are going to look. Involvement of family and friends. Many of us, for example, we do have relatives now. Most families have somebody or the other residing in the UK or the US. And we compare, for example, a simple thing like visiting hours in a hospital. And we say, यहाँ तो हम लोग like एक person hospital में है, 6 लोग मिलने आते हैं. And there is absolutely no question of sort of meeting unless it is permitted only in certain situations. Very often families and relatives are actually asked to designate one person who will come to the hospital to visit the older person, and you are not expected to sort of just land up there. There is nothing much like visiting hours. There is actually something like only medically permitted visits to the patient. And what does that do actually to the patient? So on the one hand is the whole scene of 6 people all at one time visiting a patient, and we have security outside the ICU, etc., to monitor how many people, only one at a time can go in and no more. And we need that kind of disciplining monitoring. And then there is the other extreme in which maybe for even 48 hours, if the doctors decide, you may not be allowed to meet or see anybody, yes, even though you are fully conscious. So patient-centered care is something that we have often emphasized in our curriculum building, and we have tried to put it across to students as to what is the way in which, because culturally we are extremely closely connected to our relatives, to our families, and at a time of illness, at a time when you actually require emotional support, what is the balance that we will find in observing hygiene, observing all the precautions obviously that need to be taken close to somebody who's not well? And so for example, a rule saying that children below 10 definitely are not allowed or should not be visiting hospitals could be one of the ways in which we find a balance, because sometimes we find even 2 or 3-year-olds accompanying adults to a hospital environment, and it actually is not very healthy for children themselves at that very young age to be in an environment of illness and disease. So how do we sort of convey this patient-centered care? It is one thing to have it in social science, it is quite another to actually teach. So I'm coming to how we handle this in the diploma course or in the certificate course. How do you actually impart an attitude? And one of the most crucial skills for people, for students to sort of pick up attitudes, catch attitudes actually, is to have a higher order of communication skills and to be able to observe the difference between, we all of us know effective communication and two-way communication and all of that. But patient-centered care actually requires a higher level of communication skills. So one of the things, for example, is can information be repeated? And we often find, for example, medical people who are a little averse to sort of repeating the dosage or the medicines or the names of the medicines, or the handwriting on prescriptions is such that you know, it's only the chemist and the doctor who can really follow that prescription, and you as a patient are not even expected to really read it. क्योंकि डॉक्टर ने लिखा है, वो केमिस्ट आपको देने वाला है, तो why are you worried about even reading it? So see the kind of distancing. Don't you want to know? I mean, many of us really want to know what is written on that prescription. But you are kind of gently discouraged from really finding out more, and just trust. So there's nothing wrong in trusting, but does the trust with regard to your own health emanate from lack of information, or should the trust emanate from you knowing what you are trusting and what is it that you are accepting, by understanding what you are accepting, and not leaving it to, you know, there are people who are better than you, who know better than you. So it reduces patient anxiety, it reduces family anxiety, it improves outcomes actually, and the point is that these are skills which need to be maintained throughout your professional career. It's not that you only learn this at the point of entry or soon after your training, you know, you are at your best sort of level of performance, and over a period of time you acquire that arrogance of professionalism which says that it's okay, मैं बोल रहा हूँ आप करते रहिए, you know, like don't really get too much into this. So I come actually to something that is very critical and very little discussed, because geriatric care, health, doctors, medicines, etc., etc., etc. But actually we have talked of holistic care for a patient. So we have actually said there are social and psychological needs. And so it's important for us to look at some of what is appearing now, you know, on the slide. Can we have recreational activities? Because not all elderly are always in pain or immobile, etc. So there are all kinds of sitting games actually that can be encouraged. And this is something that some NGOs have actually tried with a good deal of success. And especially with groups in communities, recreational activities have gone a long way in establishing positive mental health among people who come together. And in fact, just about half an hour back, we were discussing that in rural areas, there are actually more possibilities of elderly coming together, community groups sitting together, because it's a different lifestyle. People don't have to travel a long distance to actually go and meet their group, etc. And it has a very positive impact on the overall life, mental health actually, and physical health of the elderly person. Humor. This is something that many people might, also think that isn't it a little out of place over here when we are talking in terms of. So actually caregivers, and this includes doctors and nurses, if they have a sense of self-deprecated humor, it actually helps to be able to laugh, to be able to smile. And one change that has definitely occurred in the last decade or 2 decades is that the medical profession is trying actually to be a little more approachable. I do remember the days when, you know, doctors would definitely put down their foot on the amount of time they could spend with you or talk to you. And I now find, the other day I accompanied somebody, you know, who had a frozen shoulder, and a young man, and the person also told the doctor that yes, maybe it happened during my sleep. I actually had some very disturbing dreams, which about last 2-3 years I have not had that kind of. It used to happen 3 years, 4 years back. It hasn't happened in the recent past. But so maybe because of the way in which I woke up, I was startled or something, and I got up, and maybe that's how also the pain has come back. And during the talk, the doctor actually asked the young man, "So what are these dreams like?" And to me, that was quite a surprise, because it had nothing to do with the medical aspect of the sprain in the shoulder or the frozen shoulder, etc. But when that man related why he thought he could have got a, you know, bad sort of sprain or ache, and referred to this, the doctor actually picked it up. And I think that was something very critical in that interaction, where the doctor may not have really related it to the pain in the shoulder, but could relate it to some disturbance in the individual. And I think that was a very critical thing that the person did, which the doctor did. So then there is creative writing, use of writing for therapy, journaling. There are many elderly people who actually note down things, and, you know, to encourage this type of activity with the elderly people. Caregivers can also pick up this skill. So, you know, caregivers, and when you sort of interact with the elderly, I feel that it's not only important that you pick up, you know, everything about the anatomy or physiotherapy or rehabilitation, you know, etc., dosage, how to give medicines, etc., but you also pick up these emotional and these tools which deal with emotions and psychology of the elderly. And I think geriatric care courses need to really emphasize this. On this slide I have referred to music. And music is one of the creative arts. Well, Sugandhi is here, so I guess she would know much more about this, and I only understand that it is really very helpful. And research also has many examples of how music really helps. So here in particular it refers to management of Parkinson's disease in the elderly, and music is very useful and sort of helpful for this. It stimulates emotional and motor response. And from our mythology, if we think of Abhimanyu and, you know, the response of the fetus actually to the words that the fetus heard, and also the response of the fetus, research has shown response of the fetus to actually music that has been songs, etc., that have been played during, you know, the gestation period, and the infant is able to relate more with those tunes even after birth, and research shows this. I think we spoke about, so dancing, not really in terms of the Zumba or the, you know, whatever are those, but in terms of actually rhythmic movement. We are not specifically talking about any classical dance or anything like that. What we are talking about is the ability to actually just movement. And movement is also very good for your mental health. Singing, of course, is. Thank you so much. I quickly move to who are these caregivers. I won't concentrate on this. The need for caregivers is tremendous. I'm sure that all of you, with your interest in aging, etc., and the background that Dr. Singh gave about, the kind of aging studies that you have in IIPS, you would be definitely familiar with this. We have a definite dichotomy of who provides care. So we have the unpaid caregivers, and there is a whole economy around unpaid caregivers. So it's family, it's relatives, it's neighbors. 80% of them are women. So if you have a profile of who these unpaid caregivers are, they are women, and they are people who are related to the patient. And health consequences of unpaid health care, there's a lot of mental health sort of issues that arise, especially for caregivers with people or relatives or anybody who has chronic sort of ailments. So the dementias, the Parkinson, and maybe immobility, all kinds of, so it's falls and fractures, yes, maybe at the end of 4 months at least somebody is back on their feet, or 5 months they are at least moving around, etc. But in palliative care, when you have to give caregiving to people with, with cancer or ailments like that, it's a different ball game altogether. And there is a lot of physical and emotional strain on people who are constantly in. So in Western countries, they have evolved a whole concept of what is known as respite care. So this care is for the caregiver, so that the person who is constantly on call, sometimes 18 hours a day, not getting sufficient sleep, apart from the anxiety and the unhappiness of seeing a loved one suffering, apart from all that is actually the whole physical business of running around, doctor's appointments, tests, etc., etc., and running a house. So such people actually in the West are encouraged to take a break and actually leave the house and go away to another place where they can have complete rest and respite from their caregiving tasks and roles. It is something that culturally we might still think that, it might not be very agreeable for us culturally, and but I think this is one of those areas where one could grapple with that mindset. And if a husband or a wife is actually told that 10 or 15 days you can go and live somewhere else, you can go to somebody or live somewhere else, so that I think most people in our country even today would not really even imagine, or they would be very uncomfortable leaving the person, and they would be willing to take the strain rather than to actually take that respite and move away from the person. So these are some, as I mentioned earlier when I started, these are some of the challenges actually. We have certain understanding, we have certain ideals, but at the same time, emotionally, culturally, psychologically, can we really adapt all of these without adapting them culturally to our understanding of care, of what is compassion, of what it is to be, with your family throughout the whole period. These are some of the understandings that we have, and we will have to really grapple with these. So, what do these caregivers do? They actually do everything from bathing, feeding, toileting, depending on, so if their banking needs, their shopping needs, nursing care, giving medicines, body or foot massage, all kinds of things. Organizing the person's day, social and emotional support when the person is down. And today, caregivers are also getting into, so for example, cancer caregivers and such sort of illnesses which are really long term. Dementia caregivers, they have formed their own groups to be able to support each other and to learn from each other's experience. And this is something which is really very critical. So, some observations, and I end with these, which are that preventive care and so on has often been ignored to a large extent. So caregivers also need some amount of understanding of, so dementia can be delayed, Parkinson also can be delayed, but unfortunately many of us as family members don't realize that certain steps can be taken to keep the person to the best of their potential, that the person need not become immobile, need not get restricted to the home, and that there are certain activities which can be promoted and delay the onset of full dementia, full Alzheimer, or of complete immobility, for example in Parkinson also. These are some of the areas where caregivers can also be trained in the geriatric care course or otherwise. So basically, I want to say that the curriculum for training our caregivers needs to include the psychosocial as well as the medical. So it needs to be actually multidisciplinary in nature. And most geriatric care programs concentrate only on the physical health of the person. There are very few programs which give equal importance to mental health care, but I am happy to say that today there is more importance being given to mental health care along with the physical care. So, one important thing, lastly, which a caregiver should actually be trained to prepare is a medical and a social care plan, because elderly often have multiple morbidities. And so for example, they would be under the care of a dietitian, they might be cardiovascular, so they might have a regular person for 2-3 professionals, a physiotherapist, a nutritionist, and all of them may have advised something. How do you bring it all together? A trained caregiver needs to be able to make a medical and a social care plan for their elderly patient or the person that they are looking after. And this will make a difference between the unpaid voluntary caregivers or sometimes it's ward boys and ayahs who turn to caregiving later when they leave their job or they don't have a job. They fill in between jobs, they take up home care services, and they are not the best. They are not everything. But in a country where geriatric caregiving training is very much in its infancy, that is what most of us have to fall back on. Most people who require have to ultimately fall back on untrained paid caregivers, apart from their own family looking after them. So with this, I sort of come to the end of my understanding, and I hope that I have been able to put before you the whole idea of geriatric caregiving as something which is in its infancy, as something, secondly, which needs to be a multidisciplinary approach. The social and psychological requires training on those aspects, and along with that some amount of medical and anatomical, etc., medical knowledge and stuff like that. And that is the kind of training which actually will stand us in very good stead for elderly. We are all very happy that we are living longer. Longevity is indeed something, but what is the quality of that longevity is something that our training should impart to our future caregivers. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Professor Nasreen, for giving a very comprehensive insights into 5 to 6 important burning issues related to our elderly care. Without coming between you and the speakers, I am requesting the second speaker, Dr. Saraswathi, to please give you a talk. and then we will follow the third. And friends, we will have time for few questions, observations towards the end of all three presentations. Thank you.
Respected Dr. Singh, Dr. Sekher, faculty of IIPS, scholars, students, and my friends Sugandhi and Professor Nasreen. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about what Tata Trust has been doing as an LHR program. So my presentation is going to talk about what Tata Trust has been doing. Before I dwell into that, I thought I should probably share the history of or rather the association between Tata Trust and IIPS. I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but just in case some of you, the younger generation, are not aware of the history, I thought I should speak about it. So I've taken reference from Life of J.R.D. Tata written by Mr. Lala. IIPS was a vision of J.R.D. Tata in terms of having a dedicated center which will study on population. I think at that point in time, J.R.D. was a visionary and he wanted a center which specifically would look at population-related studies. So he had written to the government several times saying that without delay, and I quote here, without delay, a high-powered commission consisting of eminent scientists, economists and sociologists should be working on the population-related issues so that we as a country are prepared for it. But government at that point in time did not take the suggestion, and JRD being JRD had this principle that he would suggest the government what is to be done, and in case the government did not take it up, he would start working on it himself. So he started doing a lot of work on population himself, and then Dr. John Mathai was heading Sir Dorabji Tata Trust, and so in 1954 he told him that he should impress upon the then health minister that we need a center like this and it should be set up. And this was what he thought of, saying that such a school would train a core of persons who would carry out population studies for the government and for the universities. And July 1956, I think the then health minister also brought in the UN to work on this, and 1956 it started off as a demographic center for training and research, and today I think it's an institution of I think I would say not great importance to the country but to the world as well. So I would and your contribution, I mean, I really am getting goosebumps as I'm talking about this. I think the Lassi report is a phenomenal work that the Institute has done, and it's going to be, as I said, a great data set, not just for the country, for the world over. As we know, the South Asian countries are having a different aging life cycle compared to the Western world, the developed country, shorter duration, greater number of people. So the challenges are different. So the report that Lassi has brought out is a fantastic one, and I think all of us are going to refer to it while we design our programs. Same thing with the India Aging Report, which was released last week. I think contribution of IIPS there is also commendable. Just to summarize, I think I would like to congratulate IIPS for bringing out these reports and several research. I'm just restricting it to these two reports, but I think several research that all of you are doing is very valuable for us, because we use that as a reference and design our interventions. And I would say that for the sector, you all are playing a very, very critical role. So just to, before I start about the work, a brief introduction about Tata Trust. I'm sure most of you are aware, but just in case you aren't, Tata Trust is a philanthropic arm of the Tata Group. The profits from the Tata Group are plowed back for the community-related work through Tata Trust. And we have, I think, more than, we have a group of trusts. Like we said, Sir Dorabji Tata Trust was the one which started in IIPS. So we have a lot of trusts working basically to build the community resilience and creating transformative change. These are some of the themes that Tata Trust works on: healthcare, nutrition. So I'm not going to read these out, but basically several themes that Tata Trust works on. Just to quote the chairman's message on what we work on. So basically we are trying to harness the power of community and trying to bring a transformation, social transformation, which will last for a long time. Okay, I'll pause here and I will move on to what prompted us to work on elder care as a theme. I'm showing you two pictures just to show that when we talk about aging and elders, and I'm sure you know this much more than I, that it's not a homogeneous group. It is a very diverse group with diverse needs, and hence our program was designed around that. On the left hand side you see a picture of an elderly lady who was seen in Chandrapur district of Maharashtra. And on the right is a couple who come from a fairly well-to-do family in Bhubaneswar. As I speak, I should say that Sugandhi and me both have worked on this program. So whatever I am speaking as Tata Trust, Sugandhi is also part of it. So the elderly lady was suffering with health issues, was placed outside the house on a cot because she was not able to take care of herself, and the family did not have the time and the I would say mental energy to probably take care of a bedridden elderly. And because she was smelling, she couldn't take care of her cleanliness. She was actually kept outside the house. This picture brought to us the stark reality of rural areas. While we think that rural areas, there is a lot of respect for the older person and they would be taking care of them, there is a reality that the caregivers there are also stressed out. They do not know how to take care of the elderly person, and they had given up. They said they were just waiting for her to die. On the right is a well-to-do elderly couple. They have money, they have all the facilities. They needed ways to engage. They needed ways to probably keep themselves occupied. So the needs were completely different. So based on that, we worked on a strategy in 2017 for a 5-year strategy, saying that what are the things that we need to focus on. We said we'll look at healthcare and wellness, primarily looking at the rural areas where we identified that access was a critical issue and availability also was a critical issue. So we said we'll focus on rural areas for healthcare. Happy aging was a second aspect where we said we'll work on engagement models in the urban areas, how we could engage senior citizens in keeping themselves busy, keeping themselves more occupied, thereby delaying the onset of health and other mental health issues. We realized that this was a nascent sector and hence advocacy had to be an important part of our strategy. We worked extensively with the central government, state governments, health departments to see what are the various aspects that we could cover. For example, we have mentioned about old age homes. There are a lot of old age homes which are set up, but there are no standards for it. While there was a judgment by Madras High Court saying that there needs to be certain standards in every old age home, it was not being implemented. So we were working with the government to see that what are the minimum standards that need to be there in the old age home, so that the elderly who's there, I mean, trusting the old age home to take care of him or her, what should be available in those old age homes. And lastly, what is an enabling ecosystem that we can create so that we can ensure that it's going to be a healthy and happy aging for the elderly. I will be talking about the helpline in detail in the subsequent slides, but one of the things which I'm not probably going to get into detail is about the digital platform. We also said there should be a space where the urban educated elderly can go get information, get details, and like Professor Nasreen mentioned, where caregivers could share more about what are they going through and what they can take help from each other. We wanted to create a platform and we did work on that as well. So the bottom line for the strategy was we are all very happy that longevity has increased. I think that's a fantastic thing to be happening to all our, to the population, that we live longer. But how do we ensure that longevity is not deteriorated, because there is no deterioration in quality of life or the dignity because of increase in longevity. So that was a theme that which we used for designing our programs. I'm just going to show you some pictures and then probably explain what we did in the rural healthcare. As the LASI report has been jointly done with the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has a program called National Program for Healthcare of Elderly. When we started working on the rural healthcare, we realized that very few people actually were aware of this program. And when we worked with the central government, we realized that they were working on a top-down approach. They were looking at what the regional geriatric centers or the geriatric colleges, they were starting with that, and then they wanted to percolate it to the PHC level and the CHC level subsequently. So we said, finally, what matters to the elderly is whether there is a geriatric clinic available at a PHC at an accessible distance, and whether that is going to provide the service for them. So, considering that the PHC doctors did not know what they needed to look at for an elderly specifically, we are not talking about geriatricians. We wanted to make the PHC doctor capable of taking care of the issues relating to elderly. So we had doctors getting trained. We also had the ANMs and ASHAs getting trained on what is required for an elderly. So we came out with a comprehensive healthcare plan with a geriatric card, which had all the aspects written in that, including their weight, starting from their weight to their blood pressure, their all the parameters, mental health related issues. Where are they living? Whom are they living with? What is their economic condition? So it's like a health card which maybe in urban places, when you go to hospital, you get it. We try to create a physical card so that the elderly in the rural areas feel that, okay, somebody is taking care of their health. So we created that and trained the doctors and nurses. Yes. And on the center, two pictures you will see, there's a weekly geriatric clinic which is held in the PHC on a specified day, where the senior citizens are going and accessing healthcare. Nurse taking the blood pressure and the doctor talking to the elderly in a leisurely manner, trying to understand more. I was talking to Professor Sekher, and we also trained the doctors to look for signs of abuse, because abuse is something which is very difficult to find out. So we had trained the doctors to see if there are any signs of abuse, which probably over a period of time the elderly would probably come out and share with the doctor. We also had physiotherapy equipments which will help them with relieving the pain. So we didn't do anything. We just made sure the NPHC program was implemented on the ground. That's all that we did. And we also introduced a social component called an activity center. The last picture on the right you will see. The elderly came together, did some exercises, came together regularly, meeting, sharing, talking to each other, singing songs, using those stress balls and probably ensuring that they play around. We also included intergenerational solidarity by making sure that the grandchildren put up skits for them, either on acting as older people, basically trying to make sure that the younger generation also took care of the older person. To summarize, basically we used the national policy as a basic framework and added the social engagement component to it. We worked closely with the health department and the community. We tried to bridge. Basically, we were trying to act as a facilitator. We provided the technical support to the health, by training the health personnel, and we were doing a supportive supervision, as we call it. We were not replacing the doctors, or we were not replacing the existing system. We were just helping them do their job better. And we worked with the community extensively, encouraging them to ensure that the elderly were accessing the geriatric clinic. We did this in 3 geographies, Chandrapur, Medak, Yadgir, and it was extended to Nandurbar also. Purpose of selecting these states were because they were aging at a faster pace compared to other states. So these were taken, and a model was established to the central government and state government that this is possible to be implemented. I move on to the next major intervention that we did was we created the national helpline. This is called Elder Line. The number is 14567. On the right, you see a picture of this being dedicated to the nation 2 years back on the International Day of Older Persons by the then Vice President, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. There's a YouTube link. I'm not going to play that in the interest of time now. The Ministry of Social Justice had asked Amitabh Bachchan to give a video on the use of this number, and this became a national helpline. Just a little bit of history. We started this as a proof of concept in Hyderabad along the lines of Childline. All of you must be aware of Childline. So we said, similar to Childline, we need an elder line. We started this as a proof of concept in Hyderabad. We devised the SOPs, protocols, what should be done, who should do it, how it is to be done. We expanded it to Telangana, and then COVID happened, and ministry said this is going to be an important support system for the elderly. We want to make it a national helpline. So it actually fast-tracked this, and from May 17, 2021 onwards, within a year of us implementing it in Telangana, this became a national helpline. Today, I mean, as of 31st March, this was rolled out in almost 31 states. This is the Elderline website today. It talks about the number of calls, number of states, how many senior citizens were serviced. I'm going to rush through because I think we are already running late. So these are the some analysis of the types of calls, what is the different types of calls, what were the requirements, and these are the top 10 services that the senior citizens have asked for. One point I would like to mention is that there are a lot of homeless elderly. If I see an elderly person on the road, I can call this number and say that I am seeing a person at say Shivaji Circle here, and then there is a field team which normally comes, understands what is there, along with the police tries to rehabilitate. In the urban area, we did Happy Aging Activity Center. I think Sugandhi is going to talk more about it, so I'm going to restrict it. So basically a place, as we call the third place, where an elderly can go and enjoy and participate in social activities. Way forward for Tata Trust, we are now looking at a strategy for the next phase of implementation, and in that the LASI report and the India Aging report are going to be important data sets for us to decide what the strategy is going to be. I would like to end this with my request to you all and what I see as your role. As family members, each one of us probably is an important part in the family and instrument to ensure intergenerational solidarity. As community members, I think our role is to prevent ageism. We do not either tolerate or propagate ageism. And last but the most important one, as professionals, we need your support to make sure the research that you're conducting can translate into action. Basically, your knowledge, we need to translate it into action, either through policy intervention or through direct implementation. Thank you so much, and we look forward to associating more with you.
Thank you, Saraswathi, for focusing at three important issues, starting with relationship between IIPS and role of Tata Trust in establishing this institute, and subsequently moving to various intervention program. Of course, Maharashtra and other states feature in some way or other able to address ruralization of our elderly population, and also looking at feminization, because with increasing life expectancy, especially where females are in advantageous position and higher age at marriage of men, we are getting quite substantial proportion of widow women in our country. That number is continuously increasing. And in both these aspects, a third aspect is rural-urban migration. Because of increasing migration, younger people are moving to urban areas, and those who are left behind in rural areas, there are very limited people to provide care to them, especially where a scarcity of healthcare system is there. That is why Tata Trust interventions are quite commendable. Now I am requesting our third speaker, Ms. Sugandhi, to give her insights on this issue and what should be priority issues for research and intervention in future. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. Professor Singh, Professor Sekher, and all the faculty members, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to represent a new hat that I carry today. Because generally people see me as more as Tata Trust representative. But this Happy to Age is just 3 months old as an entity. Okay. We're still in the process of registration, etc. So, with all the experience gained over last 15 years in the space of elder, working very closely with the elder care program, including Tata Trust, and subsequently with another organization called Vaya Vikas, where I was the founding CEO, setting up the team and actually making it happen in Karnataka, because now it's become a pretty large organization with a platform that Tata Trust funded, which Saraswathi mentioned about. It has about 30,000 members today, 30 to 35,000 members on the platform. So it's also been promoted by 7 eminent founders who are themselves senior citizens, believe that there should be a movement that has to be created for senior citizens, driven by senior citizens and run by senior citizens. So with that background and also having experienced my own experience of being a caregiver for my father with mental ailment as well as aging issues, I'm pretty convinced that I think both the eminent speakers spoke about happy aging, and that's why this word happy to age emerged. And happiness never retires. At least that doesn't retire, because we always talk about hum retire ho rahe hain to abhi hum aaram kar sakte hain. But happy to age is going to challenge that, because we believe that, I personally believe that if we want to remain, if we remain active, that's the only way we can remain healthy and manage that 30 to 40 years after 60, that we can manage sufficiently independently with dignity we can live. Because otherwise we are going to be with various comorbidities, we will have healthcare as a major issue that we will have to face, and families are not there around us. Our children are gone away, our grandchildren are not going to be around. It's going to be difficult. We already know that there's sufficient data that we are nuclear families, we live independently, okay? So that's the reason happy to age. So I'll just quickly, I won't take too long. Everybody understands the concept of preventive healthcare. I think there's sufficient things have been mentioned by Madam Nasreen, that there is a need for activities to be involved in on a day-to-day basis. So my screen here and the screen there is not matching. So there is definitely a lag. So I'm just going to figure out. Yeah. So the presentation which was done by the previous 2 speakers, where is happy to age in the whole context? We are saying there is a continuous engagement that we need to have in our life till the last minute. So there is nothing called retirement. I personally want to challenge this myth about 60 साल हो गया तो अभी आराम करना है. नहीं करना है. आराम करेंगे, वहाँ से प्रॉब्लम शुरू हो जाती है. So when we tell our children, we tell our parents or our grandparents, अब आप घर पे बैठिए, आराम करिए, टीवी देखिए और बाहर नहीं जाना है, हम ले आएंगे आपको. That's the starting point of going, the decline starts from then. So you're pushing an attitude saying that abhi to aaram karna hai, to kuch nahi karna hai. That's where the decline actually starts and dementia starts setting in. Dementia starts setting in, the research already shows that dementia starts setting in at the age of 40. It's not at the 60 that the dementia sets in, it starts much earlier. But it starts manifesting, and there is enough evidence to prove that it starts manifesting as you start settling down, so-called, saying that abhi kuch karna nahi hai. That's where role of happy to age actually starts. And I truly believe that if we keep engaging with ourselves with something more meaningful, something new that we need to do, which we have not done in our life before, that's the purpose of happy to age. So what the model, I think we've heard now in the two presentations, that generally the space that we are talking about is healthcare. When we think about senior, we have two images in our mind. One is with a stick, two sticks, and we are frail and somewhere in an old age home. That's the mindset that we carry. Or we carry a mindset that unko healthcare zaruri hai. We don't talk about that they are active, they can engage, they can economically contribute. That mindset doesn't exist today, neither the policymakers nor even within our families. Even, today I was having a conversation with one of our technology provider, and he's a young chap developing the software for us. And I asked him, put that word dementia there, because we were creating a video on dementia. And he said, what is that? What does that mean? He's a 25-year-old boy. He doesn't know what is dementia. The word dementia, he's heard it for the first time. Then I said, you have grandparents? He said, हाँ है. तो वो भूलने का आदत वही है क्या? So I said, yes, that is dementia. So there is lack of awareness among young people also about aging. So when he was working with us on the video content, he learned and he said, Madam, मैंने कितना सीख लिया आज about aging. मैंने कभी सुना ही नहीं था ऐसे सब problems aging में होती है. Yes, there is a time lag for the unfortunate. Okay. So two studies which were conducted. One was with Tata Trust experience of running two activity centers, one in Hyderabad and one in Bhubaneswar. We used two tools on quality of life to measure whether activity centers or daycare centers does it really give any result. And it was proven, 59% of the members have shown absolute improvement in the quality of life. We took a sample of about 26 members out of 50 members who were regularly visiting the daycare, and it showed that definitely there is an improvement. There was another study done by the Institute of Psychological Health that was during the COVID period, 2014-16, and then they also continued that study, and a sample of 500 people, older adults. It was very clear that 87% who were interviewed said that after retirement, I don't have a plan. There's no plan after retirement. So once you're 60, you don't know what to do. And you have another 40 years or 30 years to live, because today we know people live. I know in our Happy to Age Center today, there is one member who comes who is 85 years old, fit and healthy. And today I interviewed her asking, what's your message for young people? You're 85 and you come here, participate in Garba. We had a Garba session today. And she danced. And I asked her, where is the energy coming from at the age of 85? And she lives alone. She lives alone. Her spouse passed away. And she lives alone. Her grandchildren are around. So she told me only one message. She said, maintain a routine. I get up 5 o'clock in the morning. I go for a walk. I don't do any extensive yoga or any gym or anything. But I just go, spend my 2 hours, come back, do my routine, go spend my time with my grandchildren, and sufficiently I spend time. I do my work. I go to buy my stuff, my grocery, come back, and in the evening again I go for a walk, and that's my routine. I'm very happy. I'm healthy. I don't have an issue. Yes, I did have a lot of health issues, but that's in the past. It's gone. Today I'm healthy and I'm in the routine. So she spends 2 hours with our Happy to Age Center, and she's excellent. She is in fact our resource person who, I'll show you some of those slides which she created, you know, and she does sessions with us on crafts, and she learned with YouTube. She opens her YouTube every day and she learns a new skill. She's saying, I'm happy doing, and I'm not stressed at all. That's how you live a healthy life, right? So we, you know, my partner Mildred D'Souza and myself started Happy to Age, both having experience of having been a caregiver for our, you know, for our parents and our grandparents. With our eminent advisory team, we've just started it, and we asked ourselves, who is old at the first place? And if I ask who is old here, some of you might want to put your hands up. I know. In fact, I would have done, being an art-based therapist, I would have done an exercise for you right here. But I'm stopping myself from doing that because of lack of time. But if I ask who is old, that's a definition you will have to make for yourself. There is nothing called who is old. The old age definition is your own, right? And the overall health framework, I'm not even getting into, I think Nasreen madam nicely covered it, that keeping our brain active by keeping ourselves active becomes very important. And for us in Happy to Age, one of the aspects which we try to cover is we customize activities for senior citizens. So when they come, we first do an assessment for them on this attention, memory, judgment, reasoning, which is what slowly starts declining as you age, is the understanding that we have that dementia sets in when we start forgetting things, and there is a manifestation that people don't know what they're doing, etc. We want to curtail that. We want to stop that from progressing. And I think music therapy, we use a lot of different therapies to already address that. So cognitive, I'm not getting into this because it's theory. We basically do a lot of brain gyms. What we do is we have a 2-hour session every day with seniors who come, register with us. We do an assessment of their overall quality of life, and we hope that we create some evidence at the end of 6 months, 1 year, as to whether there is an improvement in their cognitive abilities, right? So we practice, we do a lot of brain gym with our hands, with our fingers, with our what you call it, there's a lot of jigsaw puzzles we use. We design based on their skill set and their understanding and their interest areas. For example, in our group currently we have one Parkinson patient who comes. She's generally very shaky, moving from here and there. She can't hold things very firm. She will almost look like she's going to fall. But with that enthusiasm, she walks across from her society, comes to this place because her daughter has encouraged her. So I think we daughters and granddaughters and grandchildren will have to encourage our grandparents or our parents to remain active rather than sitting in front of the television. In a typical urban context, we're not talking about rural context here. Rural context is very different. I think Saraswathi already covered. We are talking about urban context where both parents were working after retirement, got inactive. That's when the actual problem starts. So if we can encourage our senior citizens, our family members who are parents or grandparents, to take up their hobby which they have never done in their life before because they got caught up in their family responsibilities. Encourage them. That's very important. The brain has to continue to remain. So in our design, we have decided that 1 hour of 2 hours is going to be fun and frolic. So enjoy, put the music, dance, all of that, right? And they sing and all of that. And 1 hour is serious work. So we give brain stimulation activities. They will say, ये नहीं कर सकते हैं अभी, ये नहीं करना है, ये तो बच्चों का खेल है, इसे नहीं करना है. 1 hour you have to do. Because your mind will not work otherwise. It's not going to work. It has to challenge all the time. The brain has to challenge. So I was sitting and doing the brain gym. You can try doing it, whether you can do it or not. I mean, so we kind of keep trying to give them a skill every day. and say, try doing that, come back, homework karke aa jana. So what we have done basically is that the model, this is a new model. No one has tried this out. It is going to be, what we are trying to do is, we are getting into large housing societies and telling them, you have a clubhouse, you have a big community space, give it to us free, okay? And it is for your members, right? And Happy to Age will help keeping your senior citizens members 2 hours every day. Give it to us free. So we will charge, in fact it will be a very minimal charge for the members, because they need to be serious when they come and register, because it's serious business, right? Serious work. It's not just club and having fun alone, but it's serious work of actually kind of doing some brain stimulating activity, which is what Happy to Age is trying to do, right? And so I'm just going to skip this and show some pictures straight away. So we have this group in Chandivali, one housing society very gracefully gave us a place free. So it's an entire flat on the 8th floor. It's a huge colony of about 3,000 members it's a federation of some 25 different societies. One entire house has been given to us free. We have opened it up for the members in that society. So it's like almost like a gated community, which comes there. So we do a brain gym activity. We make them stand, sit. Like somebody talked about journaling. We make them do journaling. We created a scrapbook for them and said, you have to start writing about your life in this, okay? And it's almost like, aaj likh ke lana, kal padna, sabke samne. So it's almost like a day-to-day design of activities we do, right? And as part of International Day for Older Persons celebration, we said we will teach you Garba steps. Okay, so we had a Garba session today. So one expert Garba person came, who is a choreographer, international choreographer, and we negotiated with her, she's doing it free. So there were about 20 senior citizens, men and women, both came. And for the first time in their life, they were doing Garba step, which they've never done before, right? Now the thing is, that's the only way it will work. So 2 hours they were exhausted. 1 hour of dance and they were exhausted. And I know today they'll get good sleep. They're going to get good sleep, and they said, "Agla session kab hone wala hai?" So the point I'm making is that it's not just the brain stimulation that we talk about. We have cognitive abilities, we have split it into 6 parts, and we kind of design activities for them. So we have identified 2 members in our group. When we did a MOCA test, we realized there are 2 members already showing early signs of dementia. They are not able to pick up words, so we did a word exercise. There was issues with memories, recall was difficult. So we counseled the daughters and daughter-in-laws of the families, saying that this is early signs, now we'll have to do something about it. You know, you may have to do a medical test, so you have to go to a neurologist and get some advice. Meanwhile, our activities are going on, so please cooperate with us, and keep doing these activities even if we are not around, right? So you have to do this every day. So the scrapbook, this diagram you see there, is done by a dementia patient already. And after a long time, he actually wrote that one page. And we just said, "Aap drawing kariye." And he did this drawing. And actually this picture, his daughter came to us and said that this is the way his house originally used to look. And we actually drew it up. It looks like a child's scrapbook. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because he's poured out whatever is in his mind and his heart into that scrapbook. So the daughter got very excited and she said, "Abhi agla kya kar sakte hain isme?" Because what has happened is, for me, the hard-hitting aspect, which is where I end this, is that generally, we always see parents taking children to a kindergarten facility or a daycare, leaving the child because both the parents are working. And you pick the child once you're back from home, back from your work, and you pick the child and take the child back. Here the reverse has happened. The daughter comes and drops the father at our daycare center and picks him back because he doesn't remember how to get back home. And it's just 2 buildings away. It's 2 colonies away. He has lost track of the way to get back home. So we guided her saying that don't leave him alone because he's anyways already confused with, and his instructions that we give to a dementia patient, as you know, you can't give them multiple instructions, they get confused very fast. So I'm not a dementia expert at all. So we are taking guidance from some of the dementia experts as to how to handle and design activities for such members. So the uniqueness of Happy to Age as a model, see we did one rhythmic movement exercise in this picture, if you see, we made them sit and do rhythmic movement. Okay, so we use a lot of the, in fact this is incidentally playing also. I can see it playing here. It doesn't matter. Then we do Sudoku, joining the dots and different colors. This 85-year-old aunt who actually knows crafts, so she designed this activity for us. Puzzle solving we do quite a bit. And so, you know, I'm just reading out the Sophia Lawrence, I just love this quote. There is a fountain of youth. It's your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring to your life and the lives of people you love. When you learn to tap this source, you will truly have defeated age. Because age is only in your mind. We all know, it's just a number game. And when I asked this aunt today, 85 years old, I said, how do you feel from inside? You're already 85 years old. She said, no, I feel like I'm 16 years old. So age kya hai usme? Age is just a number. So it's truly that. I mean, and that's the reason why Happy to Age is a new model. We are extensively negotiating with large builders in Mumbai. I've reached out to Hiranandani, Rahejas and Nahars of this city and saying that, look, you have large projects being sold to customers. Why don't you include a clubhouse exclusively designed for seniors? Right? And I'm also writing a paper on it to be put into some platform so that there's some push to the builder community that you're selling such large projects for, and which says, you know, हम amenities दे देंगे, but amenities seniors के लिए दे दो, क्यों नहीं देना है? आप उनके लिए एक special gym बनाओ, because today the gyms in societies is only for young people. It is not there. It's not there. I mean, it's not designed for seniors. Why don't you just include it? Just put some more gadgets for seniors and keep it exclusive for them. So 2 of them have shown interest. Keeping my fingers crossed, if it works, it's a great. But please encourage so my last suggestion and humble request is that encourage your seniors to, in your family, your extended family, your community around you, that don't sit idle. Do something. Create a routine for yourself every day. Be creative. Do something new every day. Create that, you know, that opportunity. Encourage them to, even if a lot of the seniors are finicky also. You find them not conducive for you to engage. But take them as a, you know, it's a phase for, as a childhood. We have behaved it like that when we were children and they have tolerated us. Now we have to tolerate them. Thank you so much. And I look forward to having inquiries about Happy to Age. My number is here. So we are working in Mumbai and we'll be very happy to come over and discuss in your societies. Thank you so much. And thanks to IIPS for giving us this opportunity.
Thanks, Sugandhi, for making a very important contribution for changing health-related quality of life of elderly in Mumbai, in collaboration with various other stakeholders. Now, before requesting Professor Nagarajan to propose formal vote of thanks, we can take 2 questions, maximum 2 questions. If anyone has anything, any question, any observation, any query, please feel free. Yes, Professor Lahiri, can someone pass mic to him? Sir. Professor Lahari is a formerly professor and head and also acting director of this institute. He retired from this institute in 2011, sir. So whenever we are organizing any orientation, any lecture session, Professor Lahari used to come. Please, sir, that's it. जरा खड़ा होने में मदद करें. Our students will also get benefited.
I hope I can sit down and speak.
Okay, it's fine. As you feel.
Instead of standing.
Sir.
Now, it gives me pleasure being an old person, and at the same time, it also hurts me when people looks at me at a pity that this man is old, is not unable to walk properly, and all sorts of things. And people comes forward to help me. Professor Das is one of my students. Now, I think all the students here, faculty here, are my students, excepting Professor Singh. Of course, we work together for several years. Now, I have a specific question in the sense that I don't find much study really to work with the elderly people, and many times the population aging and all sorts of problems are coming in India in a very big way, and that has to be sought out very. I found there are studies, but very few people are working in this field, and when I ask somebody what is your topic, then they are taking that on fertility, mortality, or domestic violence and all sorts of things. But nowadays people are not very much interested in the theoretical work. They are mostly working with other types of work, of course.
Yeah.
Because I may be backdated because I am actually the person of the technical side, and that's why people are afraid to talk with me in various occasions. And it is at my house I found when I want to speak with my grandsons, I wanted to show some big earlier history of Archimedes and all these things. Then say, please don't bore.
Yeah.
And just 1 minute, just 1 minute. He said, Dadu, don't bore us. We have to see TV, and they want to see TV and various children's program. And because TV and mobile has created really obstacle to interactions between the elderly persons and the younger generation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, Professor Nagarajan, please propose vote of thanks.
Yeah. So, at the end of the program, I won't take much time. And at the outset, I would like to thank 3 of our speakers today. They gave 3 different dimensions of elderly care for us. That a lot of message we got for our work, really. So I thank all 3 of them for accepting our invitation in a short notice and delivering your lectures today. Thank you so much for that. And so Professor Nasreen and Professor Sugandhi Baliga and Professor Saraswathi Padmanabhan, Professor Sekher approached all 3 of them, and they immediately accepted it. And that's really, very kind of you, all 3 of you. And also I would like to thank our director in charge, Professor S.K. Singh, for providing all the support for conducting this event. And I also would like to thank Professor Sekher, for arranging this, and he's also the head of the Center for Aging. And mainly he arranged it, everything, So I thank him for that. And also I thank our administration and specifically Colonel Prasant Bodi for providing all the support, necessary support to conduct this event. And at the end, I thank all the students who have attended this symposium, and I hope all of you benefited from these 3 different dimensions of elderly care. Thank you so much, all of you. Yeah. Thank you.
Now let us close this program. Thanks to all the eminent speakers.